Well, hello. It's day 31 of the July Creator Challenge. Look, Ma, we made it. This is it. I've grown and learned so much since we started this journey a month ago, and I wanted to close out with a more honest, heartfelt conversation with you. And I really feel like we've lost the purpose and the true intention behind self-improvement, self-help. When I'm saying self-improvement, I'm referring to spirituality, pop psychology, productivity, habits, anything that you would consume content on with the intention to feel different. My intention in this video is not to go viral. It's not for the algorithm. It's not to get millions of views. My intention, my heart behind this video is for you to have that truly light bulb aha moment, that eureka moment. And I really hope this helps and impacts even just one of you watching right now. It really has the potential to save you years going down the road of the wrong direction, spiraling to chaos. And maybe it could even just change your perspective on a few things. Does that sound good? All right. So self-improvement. If we're not careful, you can get so self-absorbed, self-righteous, and full of pride and arrogance. I think that's a fair assumption and critique to make. And I mean, at the extreme, self-improvement becomes your whole entire life revolving around you. Like, am I improving? Am I leveling up? Am I maximizing my time? Am I going after my goals? Why do I feel the way about my thoughts and my beliefs and my stories? Stop. I was even reading a book recently, I think it was the other day, and it literally had a whole entire chapter saying the centerpiece of your life is you. Wrong. I know the real centerpiece, the cornerstone of our lives, and I'll get there in a minute. But first, do you want to know, like, literally the fastest way to feel better? It's taking your eyes off of you. It's taking the focus off of you, giving, serving. Have you ever volunteered or hung out with a younger generation and poured into them? Really gave your time and energy into them, into someone that couldn't give you anything in return. When you're not focused on yourself, you forget about yourself and you start focusing on having fun and serving. And all of a sudden, it's amazing. It's a miracle. Your problems, they will fade away, or at least momentarily. Even take the common advice of you're the average of the top 5 people that you hang around, or show me your friends and I'll show you your future. These are all very common and good advice. But if you're obsessed with that advice, it will pervert all your relationships from pure, loving, life-giving things to hanging around these people because you genuinely enjoy their company and them as human beings. It'll flip it to a network opportunity, a chance to level up. If you adopt the idea of what's in it for me, then it's definitely time to self-reflect. If you say to yourself, oh, I can't hang around with those people in itself is an issue we'll get to on another video. But if you feel like you can't hang out with someone because you're not going to level up, if you're thinking, how do I hang out with people that are of higher status than me just so I can level up myself? That's shallow, that's prideful. It's an awful way to view relationships. This is why I've pulled back from even attending a lot of masterminds, because for a lack of a better term, it's just became a giant peeing contest, a peeing match, where you're literally separated into different tables by the income that you make, your net worth. But newsflash, friend, your net worth isn't connected to your self-worth. More importantly, your soul and spirit worth. But I'm not kidding. I've literally saw people that have gotten to this advice of your time is the most valuable asset. They've calculated their hourly worth and they don't do anything that's not inside of that worth. I've seen people who others idolize and look up to value themselves and their time so much that if they're in the middle of having a conversation and as soon as they realize that the person across from them has nothing to provide, they literally walk away. Or I've been on the other end where people seek out your wisdom and advice and they're only thinking of what you've done. Literally, I've had people want to have dinner with me and their intentions weren't pure. They were just trying to suck all the information and wisdom out of me. My point here is humility gets lost if we're so focused on becoming the best self for the sake of being our best self. And that's when we forget that we're just like everyone else at our core. We are all humans. We all have the same amount of time. We all bleed the same red blood. And we all have the same worth. Just because you make more money does not mean that you're worth more than another person. It just means you've learned how to crack the matrix. You've learned how to stack some more skills. You've just learned how to sell and market what you have to offer. When you get into this ideal of becoming a better person, some people feel like all of a sudden they're better than other people. They feel like that's evidence that they're better. But that is completely self-absorbing and toxic. Maybe people don't get into it because they're trying to be the best version of themselves. Some people get into this whole self-improvement space because they want to get filthy rich and they want to look a certain way or they want to get jacked. And we can't judge everyone's motives. I mean, honestly, we only know people's actions. We don't know their true intentions. And in fact, I've been there. I can honestly say in the past, I've been in those spaces. I mean, I can honestly remember in the early stages of my development being that way. But the purpose to becoming better, you can't live your life calculating every single opportunity cost of your time. So some of the best things, the best moments, the best things in life are free, they say. And the best moments of life may not be worth your time, but they're so fulfilling, friend. And then the next issue I see in self-improvement is it gives you this made-up, unattainable rule book for yourself. And if you approach life that way, it creates what's called conditional happiness. If you don't get X, then you can't feel Y. So if you check all the boxes from everything the self-improvement videos told me, then I will be able to feel accomplished, productive, worthy, progressing, happy, fulfilled. What's dangerous about this is how, if you have conditions to feel a certain way, what's the most dangerous thing is on those days that you don't meet those expectations, those conditions, you now feel what? Guilty, ashamed. You don't feel valuable. And what's supposed to be positive, self-improving, improving yourself and feeling good about yourself turns detrimental extremely quickly. And that's when you feel guilty. It's literally like doing a complete 180 to having the evidence for what you're not doing. And I often think about it's someone else's playbook. Like, I mean, every guru, every expert out there has got their own set of rules that you only deserve to enjoy life when you have $1 million. Or other people, they only deserve to feel lovable when they're in a relationship. But the question is, who is writing the rules? Are you writing the rules of your life? Are you led by God and His will for your life? Are you following the next whoever out there? I'm sure someone out there is telling you that you don't get to deserve to feel this way. And the only way to feel this way is if you do the 30-step morning routine. You're sitting in the ice bath for 10 minutes. You're in the sauna. You're doing your breath work. You're meditating all before 5 a.m. And by the time you've done all of that, you're so depleted of willpower and energy. It's like now you have to go to this 9 to 5 that you hate. And then you have to build a business on the side because if some jackleg on the internet told you if I'm not a millionaire by 25, then I've failed. It's never ending. I'll tell you a brief personal story, if that's okay. Okay. So I don't have a ton of regrets in my life, but I do think about what came when I was in my late teens, early 20s. Like one of my earliest dreams was to play drums. It was to be a rap star. I mean, literally, I had the dream of being the next Lil Wayne, the next Drake. And I found myself living this dream. I'm playing drums at least once or twice a week with a band live in front of people. Like I'm living the dream. But in my early 20s, I wasn't enjoying this life. I was so dadgum stubborn. I was so toxically driven to overachieve and think about the next thing and the next thing and the next achievement. I've got to get this award. I got to build this business. And I'm so glad I reflected on this early because there was plenty of times that I'm not focused on what's next. the next milestone, the next box to check. And I'm able to enjoy and have fun and be present in the now, and even in the present in that time. And I took away all the rules of what I had to be doing. If I can give you any advice, it would be, don't let self-improvement give you a list of rules and regulations and conditional happiness that you have to subscribe to. Otherwise, you don't deserve to feel what you want to feel and be a certain way. Throw that all away. Now, throw it in the trash. Go. Because that's how you're missing out on the real fulfilled, true purpose-driven life. Self-improvement is not a flex off of how many Lambos and houses and money can I make. If you're feeling that this self-improvement journey for you is sucking the life out of you, you really need to reassess your intentions and your goals behind all of this improvement. Because the goal of this life is not to be a stoic robot, not to be a carbon copy clone of the next whoever, and have no emotions, and be all obsessed about work, and a status and achieving the next thing, getting the significance, making more money. I don't know. Having a lightheartedness, a heart to serve and create great things and be great, because we serve a God that is great, that created us to be creative, like maybe chilling out, maybe enjoying life. What if we adopted those thoughts? And if you're so focused on optimizing your time and being busy and being productive, I think you're losing out on what matters most. You're losing out on the fun and the laughter and the true joy of life. You might have some moments where you catch a little bit of this, but it's always fleeting happiness. It's not true joy. All right, so the next one, this is a big one. This might be one of the biggest ones on this. I really feel like if we're not careful, this culture of self-improvement can quickly turn us into self-isolating. You hear all the times, go disappear and come back unrecognizable. Go monk mode. It's only you and your goals for 6 to 12 months. You got this. Shut off the world and then you will see success. Like, you read these headlines, these clickbait titles, and they sound really intense because they are. That's become their solution. To just go push away everyone. Don't find community and you'll find the success you want to see. But I challenge you in this. Do you want to be on your deathbed and you're surrounded by all your money and your cars and your houses and your clothes, and your health is depleting and you've literally lived this whole life chasing an unattainable success that you get to it and you're hollow? You've lost your spirit in your gain of the world. You've looked around on your deathbed and no one's around you. Your marriage has failed. Your kids don't even know you. That is not the way. Doing this whole self-isolation, this monk mode thing, it can be good for spurts. But honestly, it's like putting yourself into solitary confinement. It's bad for your health. I mean, psychology has literally showed us that we are not supposed to do life alone. We are better in community. Do you know the number one thing that will improve you? It's not another self-help book. It's not another podcast. It's not another opportunity to hear a great speaker. Now, all of these things are good in moderation, but true life change and improvement is going to come through real world life experiences. So go out and live this life. I think I draw my biggest lessons from the challenges that I've faced, those dead-end jobs I've worked as a teenager and young adult. I mean, I can think my first job was pizza delivery driver, and some of the amazing things and thoughts I have and challenges I faced there are what shaped me today. Or I think about when I worked for a Mexican food restaurant and I was mopping floors and listening to messages and music and crafting my own ideas of this world. Or I can even think of being a part of my church. When we first launched our church, we were portable, meaning that we set up and tear down in an elementary school. So every Sunday we got there super early and we rallied together. And it was much like blue collar work. It was really taking action and being around a close-knit community of people. That's when I see some of my best moments in life. The experiences you draw from, these experiences are amazing. So go out and live this life. Don't just get stuck in this isolated bubble of self-help that you're only stuck in your mind. And this leads me to the most important one on this whole list. The question that no one asks in self-improvement and personal development, yet it starts the whole thing. Why do I feel like I'm not enough? Why do you feel like you're not enough? You, right now, watching this, now existing in the world as you are, why do you feel this way? Why do you feel like you're not enough? Because self-improvement can treat you like a project that needs to be fixed. And the problem is that even if you get fame, status, money, relationships, that six-pack, whatever that you've always wanted that you think will complete you, you're still going to have that fundamental fear of not being enough. If you never question it, and you never get to the root cause of it, you'll never truly heal from it. And now it's just going to get worse, because if you go and have money, that doesn't make you happy, then you're going to be like, God, why? Why does money not even make me happy? And then if you go find love, but you feel lonely in the relationship because you don't love yourself, you're going to be like, oh no, I'm really jacked up. They say that they love me, but why don't I feel like it? Or if you go get 1 million followers, but you still have to prove and strive and seek approval to get love and gain love, and you need that validation because you can't validate yourself, or you don't find your validation in a higher power and purpose. Money doesn't change you. It makes you more of what you already are. In the same way, when you find love, it doesn't complete you. I mentioned that on day one. It's just a mirror that reveals what you were all along. If you're a bad person with money, you'll be a worse person. If you love yourself when you get into a relationship, your love will be magnified because you have someone to share it with. So I think the fundamental question is, why do I feel like I'm not enough? It's so valuable. There's something that I've been researching a lot lately, and through therapy and coaching, just personally experiencing it and experimenting with it in different angles. It's this concept of toxic shame. It's called toxic shame. It's where you think you are fundamentally flawed, that you're somehow unlovable, unworthy, undeserving of success or abundance or love. And so it causes you to look at yourself and say, okay, well, here's the hole I have. If I just fix that, then I deserve money, love, significance, and feel good. But this puts you in such a rabbit hole, and you've likely drawn to self-improvement because no one really gets into this because everything is going well. You probably have felt that to a degree, and we want to get the opposite result. So that's why we shake this. That's why we chase this self-improvement. We go to the internet, and there's a lot of great resources that we can consume, these messages that make us feel good for a little bit, this motivating talks. But what is it really answering? Is it really getting to the core issue of it all, which is your soul and your spirit? Like, why do I feel like I am not enough? If you're not careful, what you consume can actually cover up what you really need, which is more, not self-improvement, but more self-acceptance. Toxic shame is there when you are willing to root your whole future into something that you can't obtain. You don't like your current you. You have shame around it. You have guilt around it and all these emotions. The extreme end of self-improvement can keep you in this toxic shame of you always thinking that you need to achieve and get these results to feel good. And if you don't, then you're never enough. Another thing I think is we get into this place of feeling like we've got to put on a persona. So we want to project a certain us, this persona of us, this perfect version of us. I like to say I'm above this, but man, when you've been doing this since 2016, it gets really stressful at times because you know how many people are watching, and you feel the pressure of performing, and you feel the need to really bring some value and worth. You can definitely slip into wanting to be this persona. But I think the real question and the real thing that people need most in this time is authentic you, the real you, the you behind closed doors, because you need to be the same in both. Example of this is when I met my wife, her dad, for the first time. He let me know he listened to my podcast, and I'm not going to lie, there was parts of me that was like, it really felt good. I mean, like, hey, someone's listening to my stuff. But then also there was parts of me that felt like, great, when he sees me, he's going to expect me to be that person. It's almost like I've got to talk, and there's 3 steps to get to this success kind of thing. And it's amazing what happens when we let that go. I've lived by this saying that if you live for their acceptance, you'll die by their rejection. or if you're going to compare somebody, you really need the full context. People put out a very narrow, silver, gold, polished view of themselves online, and it's easy to want to run with that. But the truth is, we are all human at our core. We all fall short, and we have our own journeys. We have our own battles we're fighting. So don't idolize anyone. They have their own struggles. Don't try to be someone else, and be your most authentic you. I want to wrap up this video by saying what I am a fan of in the self-help, self-improvement space. What I do really like, and I think that we need more of, is this idea of self-improvement from the lens of how it's going to help others. Because when we're better us, then we have better relationships and better show up for those around. Really asking ourselves, what is the true intentions behind it all? But ultimately, I think the real root of all this is we have to be centered and grounded in Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. I feel like there's this level of surrender and sacrifice that we're missing. If you are trapped in a cycle of learning for the sake of learning, or you're trapped in a cycle of being better and looking at yourself to be the most effective, most productive, most efficient individual you can, if at its core it's selfish, then it's selfish. And you're not helping anything. You're not making the world a better place by just focusing on you. And ultimately, the way to true fulfillment and purpose is to dig into something that's bigger than you. And for me, I truly believe that that is a relationship with Jesus Christ, with God, that you tie into higher power. You tie into the fact that we were created for a higher calling than just ourselves. And if you can wrap your head around that, then that's what's going to matter most. And if you have questions of that, or if you have pushback of that, I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about you being hurt by church people, because unfortunately, there are some Christians that shouldn't call themselves Christian. They shouldn't wear that title because they don't carry the love and the grace of Jesus, and they're not walking out. They're not a great representation of Him. And I feel like as Christians, as men of faith, it's our job to stand in that gap and to call that out for what it is. And friend, that you are loved, you are valuable, and you are enough. Not because of anything that you can do, but what Jesus has already done. That He paid for your sins on the cross, that you have been forgiven, you have been redeemed, and now you should walk in that. And you should lean into that Holy Spirit and lean into that power. It's that understanding, it's that peace that's going to drive you to a real purpose, that's going to make you feel like even on your worst day, there is joy to be had. I've had such a fun time in these 31 days sharing with you, and I'm really looking forward to what the future holds. But I will say that for the month of August, I've got one pre-recorded interview with a really great man of faith that I'm going to post at the end of this week, the beginning of August. And then from there, I'm going to take probably a few weeks off of creating content and just get focused and get right, not only with my family, but lean into God, really lean into more prayer and see what the next direction is for me. And I really encourage you to do that as well. It's that rhythm of rest. It's realizing that your best days and your best, most productive self comes when you look in how you can be present in the current moment. I love you, friend. I'm praying for you. Now let's go live better than best as we conquer this week and we truly live this life.